And
Thanks, Debbie, and thanks to all of you for really making this happen. 5 years ago, this really started out as a dream, and when we had our first swim, that really was the nucleus and the seed that allowed so much to grow out of that. And over the past 5 years, with the funding that you guys have raised, with the enthusiasm that you've raised, with the lab that we've been able to build, we've really been able to build for the future. And I don't know if you've seen my daughter running around, but 5 years ago, she was just born. She just turned 5. And I can just see her evolution alongside the evolution with the lab. And in terms of looking towards the future, that not only is looking at the discoveries we're making and the time we're spending in the lab, but also at the future scientists that we're dealing with. And some of the scientists, future scientists that are working with us are sitting at that table over there. Bjorn Bartlett, for instance, or Mike Foote. Andrew is over there, who I actually beat in the swim today. These are our future scientists. And there's other scientists that aren't here but have spent time in the lab. Griffin Bonner and Samantha Stickevers. And they've moved on, and we've hopefully given them a taste of what science is and what discovery is. But there is one future scientist who isn't really a future scientist. She's actually a scientist now that I want to highlight, which is over here, which is Young Lee. Young, please stand up. And about 10 years ago, before all of this ever happened, I approached Young and I said, Young, you're incredibly talented. You're the exact right person to join our lab at the time. And Young said no. And about 5 years went by, and we had another high-risk project involving a crazy idea with flesh-eating bacteria. And there was an opportunity for Young to take the lead on that project, and we asked her, and she said no. But then we got the funding from Swim Across America. I matured in my thinking. A lot of the ideas kind of gelled, and we started working together on some high-risk projects. And the first one was combining a unique cocktail of chemotherapy for pancreatic cancer patients. And I can tell you right now, it is the most active regimen that I've seen so far in pancreatic cancer, and we're moving it forward quite rapidly right now to try to treat as many people as possible, and we're making a real impact there. But what I really want to focus on is some of the newer therapies and newer approaches that Young and I have been doing. And I approached Young with this idea about 1.5 years ago. And it was an idea to use a new drug that boosted the immune system in patients who had a lot of mutations in their tumor. Their genes, their tumors were full of mutations. And Young, who is a cancer immunologist, was interested, so we started looking around for possible opportunities to partner with drug companies. And all of them said no. This was too high risk, or it didn't fit their portfolio. And so Young and I brainstormed a bit more, and we said, you know what? Let's use the Swim Across America money to try to fund this idea. So again, we went to the drug companies who had the drugs, and all of them said no, except for one. And they gave us their drug for free, but we had to pay for everything else. And I said, okay, we got that covered. I got 500 swimmers that jump in the Chesapeake Bay every year that are going to cover this clinical trial. So we took a chance, and we took that chance, and we started that clinical trial, and we enrolled the first few patients. And the patients we enrolled were patients who had failed all therapies, and patients whose doctor were telling them there's nothing left to do. We've exhausted all therapies. You can go on a clinical trial. And we began to recruit these patients with a very particular genotype, their mutations in their tumor. And to date, every single patient that we've treated with colon cancer and that genotype is responding to that therapy. And what's remarkable is we have an example of one here today. Catherine Whitty, in January, was sitting on our couch with no options left. Her oncologist was telling her, we've exhausted all therapies, get your things in order. And she started on this therapy, and I remember Young telling me about her, and I went to see her, and she had a tumor the size of a golf ball, like here in her abdomen. And each round of therapy, it started shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. This wasn't using conventional chemotherapy, this was using a targeted agent that boosts the immune system that hadn't worked in any other colon cancer patient before, but because she has a special signature in her genes, it's working. So this brainstorming between Young and I, that all the drug companies closed their doors on, is now probably going to be the next approved therapy for colon cancer because of you guys. We're giving life to these patients who previously didn't have life. And just like the pancreatic cancer study I said before, where we made small increments, this is a big increment, because I suspect we're curing patients. If you go up and talk to Catherine after this, you're going to see she seems healthier than I do. She looks fantastic. But that's the message I wanted to give. You're not only training future scientists, but these future scientists are coming up with great ideas and making huge impacts. And that's because of you. That's because of you, that's because of Baltimore, and I think you should all be so proud of what you've done so far. And that's all I have to say today. Happy to elaborate more. We've done a lot in the past 5 years, but I just wanted to give you a snapshot, and next year will be even better. Thanks a lot.